Folks, thank you for being with us today. Thank you for being with our webinar. It's a free webinar, as you know, 4 easy steps to leverage your live stream for ministry growth. And it's brought to you by streamingchurch.tv. We have been serving churches exclusively for over 20 years. We have several products. Streaming video is one of those products. We'll maybe talk a little bit about that later, but we're a company that has really been very organic, started with our own local church, and Steve Lacy is our CEO and founder, and he had a vision to help churches connect, help people connect in their local church. And from there, we started to do streaming video about, 13 years ago, I guess, Michael, somewhere in that neck of the woods, I would guess.
Yeah, it's in that ballpark now.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're glad that you're here. Michael, I don't know if you can see me, but I have my white collar shirt. It's short sleeve, so it's a tech. I look like a tech geek, don't I?
Yeah, you need a pocket protector and your glasses are the wrong kind. Maybe if you had tape in the middle. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's what I need.
Fun of myself because I have been in the geek lane for a lot of years.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's talk a little bit. Speaking of geeks here, let's remind everybody that Easter is coming up. It's April 17th. It's coming up, and part of the reason we're doing this webinar is to help you with your streaming video to reach people and to keep people. There's ways you can connect with people, and you're able to really not just connect with your regular people, but new people. As you know, Easter is one of the most popular times of the year where people go to a church. Christmas is the other one. So let's talk a little bit. We mentioned earlier about how geeky we both are. Michael Gray is a good friend of mine. And he has been involved in lots of things. Michael, tell us just very quickly a little bit about yourself and what you've done.
Well, I've as I said, I've done a lot of different things in the online world, online marketing. I did that kind of training and development for businesses. I worked as a church online pastor and a pastor in all of the seats other than the head pastor and the children's department. Phil and I have at least that in common.
They didn't want us to do children's ministry. I don't know
why. No, they knew better than to let us in to. Well, in my mind, that's the scariest job in the building. So
yes. Yeah. And you certainly do have a lot of experience with social media and church online, working with websites and streaming video. And that's the thing in common with I think with this company is that we all have been involved in ministry for many years. I myself started in ministry in the late 70s. I also have a degree in broadcasting. And so I helped start a couple of Christian radio stations and was also executive pastor, senior pastor, and a church online pastor. So we have been involved for many years, and we love what we do here, and we're here to help churches. So here's what we're going to talk about today in the next 30 minutes or less. We're going to talk about 4 easy steps to leverage your live stream for ministry growth. We're going to emphasize ministry growth, and because it's one thing to just put something out there, but it's another thing to really be able to use it to connect with people and grow. We're going to talk about your website. We're going to talk about your streaming platform. We will also talk about next steps for the attender. That's important. And also your follow-up. And then at the very end, we're going to have a Q&A session for just a few minutes, depending on the answers or questions, I should say. So let's just jump into it. Michael, you're really good at website stuff. Tell us a little bit about the importance of your church website.
Well, I did spend a lot of time developing websites over the years, and I began to really I went to a lot of seminars and conferences and spent a lot of time learning about what makes a website really good and makes it accomplish the goals that you hope it will. But overriding all of that is clear and simple navigation. And so for me, one of my pet peeves is when I go to a church website that streams and they want people to come to their stream but it takes 3 or 4 clicks to get to it instead of one. People are expecting one click, easy click. Right. I'm watching the live service. So as you can see the example in front of you, I'm not picking on anybody today. If this is your website, I'm sorry. But it's a little texty and it's a little cluttered. Yeah. If you can contrast this in your mind with Google homepage, you have a big blank white page with a bar in the middle, and you know the deal. You just type in what you want and you hit enter, and it takes you to all the things that you may be looking for. That's the model of simplicity. Now, I'm not saying to design your site like Google. That's not appropriate. But here's one that is. If you look at this is a church website. They have a menu. They have a nice layout, and they have the live stream that is one click away. Now, they have multiple streams for different age groups. But you can always get there in one click. The other thing that's important is redundancy. If you look at this site, you see the one arrow down below. It says view the sermon or watch live. So one's recorded and one's live. And if you look up above in the menu, they also have watch. It's the same thing, but people look at your site in different ways. So you want what's important. And in this case, we're assuming it's to go to the live stream. You want it to be redundant. I would actually add a third redundancy, and I would have a countdown timer on this screen to show when the next service begins. Here's another nice, here's another simple site. There's not a whole lot to it. It is a layout that some folks are beginning to use more and more often. It's actually a longer website, but it's tabbed so that you can stay on the same page and find out all the information in one little place. Quick and easy.
Yes, absolutely.
What's important is right there. Same deal here. I love this though, and this is a big piece. Plan your visit. They are addressing a guest. They're saying, hey guest, we know you found us on our website, because most everyone does. And we would like to help you in the process of deciding if this is a place you'd like to come to church. You see, plan your visit and watch online. I think those are the best example of how to greet who comes to your website. You can add all the links for your regular attenders in somewhere in the menu. But on your homepage, what's important? A nice action button that says, come to the live service, or here's some questions you might have about attending our service online or live for that matter.
Yeah, absolutely. So let me jump in here if you're okay with this, Michael. And let's move it. That was good stuff. Good information and good examples there. So let's talk a little about the next step, and that is your streaming platform and designs and tools. So this is very important when it comes to doing streaming video. People sometimes think of, well, we just put the video up there, the player, and people will show up, they will come, and everybody will be happy. But there's really more to it if you want to connect with people. And so we're going to give you some examples of some platforms here. Now, keep in mind, we are streamingchurch.tv. So we're going to tell you, we're going to show you stuff that we have. And we're not trying to say we're better than everybody else, but we really are. But we won't get into that. I'm being a little facetious here, but we are proud of what we've done. We've worked really hard to put together some good platform. Here's one example of a streaming platform that has chat. And that's really what we're kind of getting at today. If you really want to connect with people, live chat is very important. So there's some arrows, and you saw earlier some arrows that were in some of the website templates. Those are things we have put in here, we've edited. But again, you have the countdown timer, which is under the video. And by the way, the video player here that says welcome to Paso Grill Beach Community Church, that's a logo that you can put in, and you can put that in when you're not streaming. And so people see that. There's a countdown timer, which is important. There's a donate now button. that's under there. There's also up here in the corner of the chat area, there are different tabs. You can chat with people. You can see who's online. There's sermon notes. There's even a little map that gives a general idea where people are watching from. There's a Bible thing. So these little things are important. There's lots of different designs that we offer. Here's another one from another church. Again, you see the countdown timer. You can also see some little social media icons down in the bottom left where viewers can share share the stream using an email to their friends or Twitter or Facebook. Again, it's all about connecting people. There's even a remind me button that people, if they come early, they can click that remind me button, and they'll get a text message or an email saying the service is coming up. Maybe if they come early, they can get that reminder button. And again, you'll see different things here under the chat. We call it the static area. People can give online tips on how to improve watching the streaming. Prayer request is very important, those kind of things. And again, where the player is, again, these people aren't streaming right now. So you see the service times, you see other events they have going on. They've put that in the player with an image. Here's another one when it comes to connecting with people. Another church has got this, a different design. Again, we offer lots of different designs, including customizing your own. And you'll see the different things that they have put in here for people for prayer, different blogs. And again, some of the chat up above here, the little tabs that people can click on the chat and find out more things like that. So it's very important that you have a chat platform that's, I should say, video and chat. We really believe that's important because that's what connects people with each other. So the church online, the next thing when it comes to your streaming platform, I should say, is your church online host. Mike, you want to spend a moment or two addressing the importance of church online host?
Yeah, I like to think of the host as the maitre d' at a restaurant, or he's your greeter out in front of the building. Think of your best ones, people who really make people feel comfortable and warm and welcome. The host can be all of that, and can also be a connector. I've seen some of the best greeters I've ever seen are really great at getting a little bit of conversation going, finding something out about you. So let's say Phil and I are having a talk, and he lets me know that he's really into off-roading in his Jeep. And I say, hey, I know a couple more guys. Let me introduce you, connect the dots. You can do that online. You welcome everyone. You say, get the conversation going. A win for my team is when we get that conversation rolling, not to a distraction, but to connect them and make them feel welcome. And this is a place where people care about them, pray for them. You can offer to pray for folks. Most platforms have some kind of chat. It's even better if they have private chat, to where if somebody's in a crisis and it happens, they come to our platforms, and we need to be able to care for them in a private prayer environment. Yes. And then, of course, I'm huge on this. It doesn't help anyone if we don't ask to take a next step. We live in a world where if you don't ask, people won't do. And so you have to ask them, hey, I hope this has challenged you today. Now, here's the logical next step for you to take.
Yeah, and it's so important because back back in my day, we used to think, hey, we've got people coming, and we would count people every week, as you should, and we felt like, hey, if we continued to grow as a church, had more people attending our services, we felt like, hey, we're being successful. And look, there's obviously some truth to that, but really, when it comes to what we're talking about here with next steps, not church attendance, is really more of an accurate way of measuring how you're accomplishing your mission at your church.
Absolutely. I agree, Phil.
Yeah. What are some examples, Mike, of next steps that people might be taking?
Well, you think about it, a first step is, finding you and coming to your online or your live service. But then a next step can be coming back again,
Mhm.
uh, turning in a connection card, asking for prayer, um, just about any activity that a guest can have is a next step, and we want to encourage those and ask for those, and make it easy for them. You notice here on this streaming page, a connection card is a great way to do that. We challenge folks with a connection card and say, hey, we want you to be challenged. We want you to take the next step. Click here, fill out a connection card, commit to the next step, tell us your prayer requests, whatever that may be. This is how help us help you stay connected with your connection card. And then, of course, our next step could be giving. That's a really big next step for folks when they begin contributing and supporting the vision of your ministry.
Yeah, absolutely. Next steps can be, if your pastor hopefully your pastor has some kind of a challenge in his message, and if you're a host, if you're a web host, church online host, whatever you want to call that, you can type that in the text too. You could type it in and say, folks, take the next step. Are you willing to have a daily devotion every day this week? Whatever those things are, you can work with your pastor even in advance. And I know that's hard to do sometimes, but if you can work with your pastor and get maybe a copy of his notes in advance, or at least an idea what he's talking about, you can even set up some things. Again, with our platform, you can easily change what's under the video with a click of the mouse if you've set up some things in advance. So whatever those next steps might be, it's so important to encourage your viewers to take those. And again, the chat is a great way to encourage people to do that. So we encourage you to do next steps. So another important part of what we're talking about when it comes to 4 easy steps to leverage your live stream for ministry growth is the follow-up. Now, follow-up, if you walk in a building of your church, hopefully there's, as Mike was saying earlier, connection cards, things people could fill things out. And then you have a follow-up team that maybe perhaps sends people a letter or an email. In the old days, we used to call them, and still phone calls are still okay, even though it go in the voicemail. But you can actually follow up online. You can do follow-up. Now, we have our own automated follow-up system here. And I'll just briefly talk a little bit about it. Really, there was a survey done by Christianity Today recently that said the top 5 reasons why church dropouts say they stopped attending church. One of the top ones was, I didn't feel connected to the people in my church. 29% said that. I did not feel connected to the people in my church. And so follow-up is important because that's a great opportunity to connect with these people. You can do it in such a way where it's not overwhelming, it's not overbearing, but you can reach out and share some things with people. Mike, follow-up is very important.
Yeah, it is. You can't put enough between next steps and then follow up. You really can't put enough weight on what it means for somebody who attends your online or live service to feel a real and personal connection. They literally, the numbers are right there. It says they're leaving because they didn't have a real and personal connection with anyone. So we need to, that, as Phil said, has got to be the goal. It can't be just somebody, breathing, walking in the door. It's how can I make a real connection with them and continue to dialogue and follow up and, use all the tools at my fingertips, which are many now. Goodness. Can you imagine having all these digital tools 20 years ago, Phil?
Yeah, it's just amazing. So for streamingchurch.tv, we have a very unique follow-up system that it's actually can be automated. I won't spend a lot of time here with it, but you can, this is just a kind of the admin control panel that shows you how to set up emails. You can customize the emails. You can send them the first timers, second timers, third timers, even people that maybe come and in a couple of weeks later don't come back. You can automatically send an email. That's just a nice little tool that you can use to be able to connect with people automatically using our system. Now, again, you don't have to use our system, or if you've got somebody else that you use streaming video with, you might have to manually do it. But whatever you do, make sure you do it. Follow up with these people. And when you have the certain tools on your platform for connection cards, digital connection cards, and chat going on, you can capture. Capture sounds like kind of a aggressive word, but you can capture people's email. You can get their information, and then you can follow up with them in a nice way and make yourself available to them. But you've got to have the tools. You've got to have the streaming platform that has not just video, but it has chat and many of the things that we just talked about. So let's just review very quickly. We talked about 4 easy steps to leverage your live stream for ministry growth. We'll take some questions and answers here in a moment. Your website's very important. It's kind of the windows to your church. And when you have video on it, streaming video on it, as well as archives, it gives people an opportunity to understand, the style of your worship, who you are as a church, style of your pastor. Website's good. And as Mike said, make sure that it's easy to navigate on your website, and have a streaming platform that allows you to have more than just video, but it has chat on it and has a lot of those tools like connection card opportunities, features to follow up. Next steps for the intender. You can do that as you chat live with people. We didn't say much about this as a web host, but as a web host, you need to be actively involved, not overly dramatic or not overly aggressive, but just welcoming people and offering up, answers to people's questions. And then follow up, as we just said, is so important once you are able to make somewhat a connection. So let's talk about some questions and answers here. There are questions that I have gotten here in a little bit in advance, Michael. I thought I'd throw a few of these out here.
Yeah.
They range from technical all the way to just some real important stuff here. Let me look at a couple here. Let me throw one out to you real quick here. And by the way, if you have any questions.
I see one here as well.
Okay, go ahead.
Let me jump in the live chat.
Yeah, do that if you would.
Chat open.
How often should I follow up with a visitor before I give up on them? That's a good question.
That's a very good question.
Just badger them as long as you can. just
no.
If it goes on for 5 years, just do it. No, I'm just kidding.
We don't want to spam people or make them feel uncomfortable. We typically would do like 3 contacts with somebody before we would pause that. But everybody's going to have their own impression of what too much is.
Yeah.
Again, our intent is to connect, and we want to communicate that often. We want to help you. I want to connect with you. I don't want to bother you or badger you. What do you think, Phil?
I would agree with that, Mike. I think 3 times probably is good. And just leave the door open, let people know, hey, we won't bug you anymore. But if you have any questions, we would love to be able to help you and make that available. Are there good resources? Here's another question. Are there good resources to help train a web host? Church Online, the people from Life Church have some resources. We have resources at streamingchurch.tv. And in fact, we'll even work with you one-on-one to do some training. We don't have a problem doing that. Mike and I both have extensive experience when it comes to church online stuff. So the resources that are available, you can go to blog.streamingchurch.tv, blog.streamingchurch.tv, or you can just reach out to us, and we will be happy to help you. We've got a podcast called Church Solutions Podcast. Just look for it anywhere that you get your podcasts, Church Solutions Podcast. We've been doing this podcast actually in some form or another for over 10 years. let's move on with a couple of questions. Here's one. Can a streaming host be on video too? Can a streaming host be on video too? So I'll address that by saying, yes, it's very possible if you have a camera somewhere else in the facility and you have a switcher that, in fact, we used to do this at your church, Michael, when I was a church online host.
Yep, still do.
Yeah, we streamed this. Yeah, they still do. Brought it back in. Jason does it now. The cameras in the auditorium or the worship center would be on, but then we would do breakaways at certain times to the church online host. That person would be on video addressing specifically the church online crowd. And so you don't have to do that. As we said earlier, you can do a lot of this through chat and links and all that. But if you're able to secure a switcher, an extra switcher laying around, or you're able to just set up a camera, today you don't need real expensive cameras to do streaming video. A lot of the consumer grade cameras are actually really good. And you can do that. You can set up a camera, and that's what we've done in the past, and they're doing it now. So yeah, you can do that. Go ahead, Mike. Do you have something else?
I just was thinking, and you said we have some resources. We actually just did some podcasts and blogs on each one of these topics. But a little bit before that, I mentioned, and so I'm asking and answering my own question: how do you find hosts for your services?
How do you find a host?
How do you find them?
How do you find it? So in other words, you're looking for somebody, you're doing streaming video and you think this is a great idea. Now we need a host. How do you
find an online host?
Yeah. Well, that's a good question, but the bottom line is most of them aren't going to have to be on video. So that should take away some of the fear.
Yeah.
I think you need to find somebody that has a passion for the church's mission and vision, somebody you can trust, somebody that's been around a little while that you can trust, and then somebody, they don't have to be super tech savvy, they don't have to be super tech savvy, but they do need to have a little bit of an understanding. And I would go that direction with it a little bit. That's the direction I would go. Michael, do you have any thoughts on that answer?
Well, it's kind of one of those that I found out by accident, that the folks that are the chattiest and the most involved on your platform are already probably good candidates that you can screen. Chatty folks, relational folks, they can't help themselves. They like to get involved and be relational with people. And that's what we're looking for, is people who want to connect and help make a relational connection with folks. Yeah. So those folks that are the chattiest and the most involved, on our platform, we actually have a report that'll tell you who the chattiest people are. And you can make a list and then begin to filter. Are they the right person? Do they use good welcoming language, that kind of thing? They're not off-putting, all of those things to help you build that team of great connectors.
Yeah, absolutely. Another question popped in here. How do you address somebody that might be disrupting the service online? Well, everybody just jump on them and dogpile, here's the way to do it. We have at streamingchurch.tv, we have a ability to block the person. So as your host, your church online host, web host, whatever you want to call that person, that's church online pastor, they should have access to the administrative panel, the admin control panel, and they can quickly block somebody. That's not a problem. It never used to ever be a problem. It's popped up maybe a little more these days, but still not a big issue. But again,
pretty rare.
Yeah, it's still rare. So it's easy to block somebody with Streaming Church. You just log into the admin control panel. Let's see here. Another question before we wrap up. What's the best website to use? Michael, you said websites. A good website's important. This isn't streaming video necessarily, but it's kind of the doorway to it. We have some friends. What's our friend Paul Steinbrecht does church. Is it mychurch.com? I can't remember his website.
I don't either, Bill. I'm sorry.
Somebody help me with this.
Sorry, Paul.
But he's got some great website stuff. A lot of people are using WordPress. WordPress is not my favorite, but I don't know. What do you think, Mike?
Well, it is my favorite. So, but everybody has their personal preference. I have a friend that I'm helping right now, and she's building a online store with Wix. She finds it super easy, and you can do the free version or a paid version.
Okay.
Well, we have a website tool called MyFlock that you can use as well, that has templates. I think the important thing is it's got to be easy. You have to have some templates to where you're not building from scratch, because you need to spend your time on connection and follow up and all the important things,
right?
Not months and months and months building a website from scratch.
Did you mention myflock.com?
I did mention myflock.com.
Okay, good. All right, good. That's us, actually, full disclosure. So we have website templates as well. All right, can we, here's another question. We're going to wrap this up here pretty quick. We will have it recorded and we'll send it out for those that may have missed this webinar. But the question is, can we implement these 4 steps using a free service like Facebook or YouTube? Well, no, not exactly. It's kind of hard, right? I mean, to get those 4 steps, you've got to, I guess you can embed YouTube now on your website, right, Michael? Can you still do that?
Yeah.
But Facebook you can't, right?
You can. Yeah, they have the ability to embed live video.
Yeah. The problem is you don't really have a platform for YouTube, or a streaming platform for YouTube or Facebook. There are some comments section, but it's really hard to do all these things that we talked about. Next steps. It's kind of sketchy there with the next steps part of this. If people were to leave information in the YouTube comments or the Facebook comments, right?
Privacy is a big issue. So you have the ability to control that on your website, and you don't have the ability to control it online. So, I mean, on someone else's platform that you're using. So on your website, you can control it to where things are kept private that should be private, and things that you want to be public are public.
Yeah. When you're using YouTube or Facebook, it's not your deal now, it's theirs. And
you're renting space.
And so that's why we have churches coming over from these platforms, and we're not against these platforms. It's just that they will block your videos sometimes if the algorithm thinks it's the copyright infringement. You can get into problems with that, even if it's not. And so stuff. Question: who can see your messages recording on? I'm not sure I quite understand it. If do you understand that?
Who can see the live service, or who can see the recording? Well, if you do it on your website, it's going to be totally under your control. You can make people log in to access it, or you can make it behind a login wall,
right? Or
you can make it completely public. That's entirely up to you.
Yeah. And when it comes to chat, I'm assuming this is talking about the video messages, but when it comes to live chat, you can do private chat with us, as well as most platforms. If they'll give you private chat, but private chat is only going to be between you and the person you're chatting with. If you want to make it, if you want to do private chat. But as far as the messages go, we have a media vault, so you can put your messages, and we host those for you on a media vault. And again, as Michael said, you can make it right there on your website, or you can password protect it if you wanted to, something like that. Okay. All right. So any other questions here? I think that's about wraps it up. We're going here for about a little over a half hour. Michael, thank you so much for co-hosting this with me. I sure appreciate it.
Absolutely. My pleasure.
And we want to remind you that if you want to make a free trial with us, you can do that by going to streamingchurch.tv. We have a 30-day free trial. You can always call us at the number there, 866-852-8255. 6648. You can reach out to us by an email, support@streamingchurch.tv. Remember, it's streamingchurch.tv. And we offer a lot of products. As I said at the very beginning of this podcast or of this webinar, we do podcasts, but we also offer myflock.com, website templates. We do mobile apps, churchapplive.com. And we have a new product that is mychurchdaily.com. It's brand new. And if you are familiar with Alexa devices, over a large millions of people now have Alexa devices, and they're Amazon Echoes, and you can ask it the weather, you can all sorts of things you can do with the Alexa devices. You can have a flash briefing, a daily flash briefing if you want, so that your members can wake up in the morning or whenever and say, Alexa, play my flash briefing, and your church can be on that. We've made it very simple, and it's mychurchdaily.com. I don't have the stuff here in text, but you can look it up later. So we offer a lot of things besides streamingchurch.tv. We'll hope that you take advantage of some of these tools. We have free trials, and if we can help you, if anything, as always, we are here to help you. That's what we do. It's our ministry. It's our passion. We want to help churches connect with their people and grow. So from Michael Gray, I'm Phil Thompson. Thanks again for being with this webinar, 4 Easy Steps to Leverage Your Live Stream for Ministry Growth. We'll catch you again next time. Please take care of yourselves and each other.